Hi everyone. I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience with writing, especially with my mental disorders. So, before I started developing my mental disorders, I'll talk a little bit about that. And so when I was in primary school, I didn't necessarily love writing, but I didn't hate it either. I wrote what I had to write for school, and that's about it. So I was not necessarily really attracted to it. Um, Pretty much the same thing happened in high school. Again, it's not necessarily something that I can say that I loved. Didn't hate it, but sometimes I liked it more than others, but nothing that I liked that much. Okay, and for example, uh, French wasn't one of my favorite subjects whatsoever. Um, didn't necessarily hate it, but again, I didn't have a really big interest in that at that time. So then I dropped out of high school, and I mostly played video games. Like I said, I watched movies. I wrote almost nothing. Okay, for a certain amount of years, almost never wrote anything. So then I started to develop the desire to write, um, even to write a book. But obviously, didn't happen. I couldn't get myself motivated to do something like that. So I didn't do much. My brain was just not interested, unfortunately. But I started to take at least some notes about certain opinions that I had about all sorts of subjects, which is better than nothing. So we have some sentences, and I tried to categorize those things, and I try to rank them in different subjects or importance in my documents, but nothing too big, but at least I was taking some notes. A couple years after that, my desire to write started to become much bigger, though. And at that time, I still hadn't developed mental disorders. But I still couldn't do it. Okay. At the time, I guess that I had the possibility to concentrate in a certain way since my mental state was fine. But I was still playing too much video games and stuff, so I couldn't do it. So when I started to really, really want to concentrate myself and write, I had already developed mental disorders, unfortunately, which made a gigantic difference. Okay. Those things are probably all related, but when that happened, I tried writing, but I just couldn't focus on that paper. Even if I really wanted to do it now compared to a couple of years earlier, it didn't work. So I tried paper and on my computer because I can type much faster. But I just couldn't do it. Not much was coming out, and unfortunately, I still wasted my time. Couldn't focus. In fact, at that time, while I was trying, and I realized that I couldn't do it because of the disorders, like I said, I actually read instead, because it's just easier to finish a book, even if it's not pleasant, but at least it's easier to understand what to do. So over a certain amount of years, I experienced pretty much the same thing. It was mostly notes. I was taking notes again, but a lot more notes now. I started to take a lot more notes. Then I started to try, because of light sensibility, start to close my computer much more, to try to write on paper and then to transfer what I had written on my computer. But this is something that is annoying. Obviously, it takes a lot more time, so this is not easy. I tried, but it's not something that worked really well. And also, when I started to do that, to close my computer for a lot of hours straight, I still didn't produce too much either. Like, it's unfortunately, and at the time it was very hard for me to close my computer. So it's hard to say, like, I just didn't know what I should do in that situation. And after that, obviously, I also got more sensible with allergies. So even writing on paper can cause some allergic reactions now, unfortunately. So that's a factor. But okay, so I tried to write even more. I succeeded into writing more, but it was very disjointed. Okay, I couldn't focus, so I had a lot of different papers, different subjects, and I started a certain subjects, and I managed to write a certain amount of words, but then I stopped. Okay, this happened all the time, sometimes not even one page, and I switched to another subject. And if you could see right now, all of those papers, you could clearly feel that there's something wrong here. Okay, it really smells mental disorders. Yeah, you can feel that there's something unusual going on in there. And this went on for a couple years, but I definitely started to open my computer again. Okay, and to try, since I can type faster, and I was getting tired of transferring my writing on paper on my computer. Okay, this is very annoying. So I started to look at voice-to-text softwares, though they're not as good as they should be right now. And I'm still trying right now to use that sometimes. I think that it makes things a little bit more productive, at least when you want to transfer your stuff to your computer. But like I said, it should be better. In the future, it's going to be much better than that. But right now, I don't love it, so I hesitate. There's different softwares, some better than others. So I still hesitate, but at least it's something that I use sometimes. So I can get a certain amount of minutes. But I'm still not sure if I'm going to continue to use that. But because I am so sick of transferring my writing on paper on the computer, it seems like I feel that I have to force myself to look at my screen. But actually, I also tried to close my monitor while tapping. I tried all sorts of things, but also it's not the same experience because you don't see your text. So your mind may not be able to generate certain things that you will want to be generated since you don't see your text. So I am in a situation where, what do? I don't know for sure. And I'd rather see my text when I write, but with all my health issues. So I also have to mention something very important. Because of my mental disorders, my mind can make absolutely ridiculous grammatical mistakes. And I can hesitate for a lot of time before accepting a certain result in my writing. My mind constantly changes itself. Okay, so it can switch all the time, And something that should take around 5 minutes will take 15 or more. And sometimes it's even worse than that. With OCD and all my brain fog, it's so hard. Okay, it can be so hard to put things together, and it makes the writing process so much more painful to try to actually put some sentences together to form more cohesive paragraphs. Or you have no idea what it's like. And the people that have experienced brain fog understand me here. That it's possible to make some grammatical mistakes that even children wouldn't make. Yeah, most people don't realize that, but it's an humiliating thing. I mean, people just want to understand your condition, and they may just think that you're that bad, which is not the case. But knowing that I am not the one choosing to think about those words to be able to write them makes me feel better. Obviously, in the given time, what happened, okay? And because most people believe that they choose to think about that, but it's just your mind. So since I understand that, it's not easy, but it becomes much easier to accept any of my grammatical mistakes, whatever they are. All my writing, no matter how disappointing it can be sometimes, is fully accepted, thanks to this knowledge. So since I don't believe that I am responsible for thinking about those words to be able to write them, it makes a gigantic difference. And I'm pretty sure that in the future, a lot of you guys will also feel much better about your grammatical mistakes, thanks to that. Well, that's my situation today. Okay, I'm still there, and I really want to. I have some inspirations. Okay, so I imagine myself writing at least one book, but even more. You know, not just one, but I feel that I have to write at least one book one day. But I fantasized about having at least a couple books about major philosophical subjects. You know, like ethics, politics, or something's related to religion or psychology, and many more subjects like some top philosophers in history. But it just doesn't feel like it's going to be worth it if I still have those health issues. Because also with OCD and the pressure that I have, it's so hard to concentrate. It's just so painful. It's so much more exhausting to try to write that much. So the feeling is that it seems that in the future I may have to put my ego aside and accept a much bigger collaboration with some editors. Maybe even a certain higher degree of ghostwriting. I don't know. Maybe this is for the best for humanity. So we'll see. So I'd really like to be able to write at least one book, or have a much bigger influence over the writing. But if I'm not, like I said, if my condition doesn't get much better, I may have to put my ego aside. So again, this is complicated because there's so many things that I have to say to the world, and it's just hard to know what medium shall I use the most, because it feels like I shall use multiple of those mediums. But I have no help right now. absolutely no help. So I'm struggling miserably. But of course, I am not going to give up. This is definitely not something that is going to make me give up. But I just don't know what the future holds for me. So that's about it. Like I said, I really love to be able to write because I have so much respect for the writing process. I'd love to be a great writer, and I have so much respect for great writers, but not just great writers, but just plain people that are trying. Okay, people that are not good, but that actually publish books. But even those that don't publish but actually write, they actually write a lot. They try, and they're capable because I know how hard it can be. I just think that the writing process is so fascinating to me, and what some of those writers have to go through. I'm really inspired by that, and hopefully one day I'll be able to at least write a lot more. So that was to give you a good idea of my current situation with writing, with my mental disorders. Thanks for watching, and see you in another video.